Hi everybody, this is Allie at My Safe Place. Thanks for joining me. It's been a while since my last video, and part of the reason why it's been a while since my last video is there is actually a toilet in a box sitting in my living room in the spot where I usually place my laptop to get the best light possible in this rather dark space. And I don't have any good lamps to sort of illuminate it, so the lighting might be even worse than usual, but I decided to stop waiting for this toilet that has been acting as extra seating in our living room to be installed. Hopefully that's happening this weekend, but as many of you have probably learned by now, there is no such thing as the perfect time to do anything, so I figured, what the heck, I've got some funny stuff to talk about today, some interesting stuff, at least I think it's interesting, regarding boundaries and how working on my boundaries with my naturopath, who is also a shaman, or shaman as some people pronounce it, and what that's resulted in, and the fact that a couple of weeks ago I turned 50. So for someone like me with my medical history, with a rare incurable cancer, turning 50 and being in remission and healthy for 18 years is pretty amazing. And that original diagnosis happened on my 32nd birthday, so birthdays are kind of a double-edged sword for me, but I gotta say that turning 50 has been pretty awesome so far, so I'm really happy to still be here and still be talking to you. So I hope all of you are enjoying your summer and getting through whatever challenges life always seems to bring us, especially for those of us challenged with narcissist or cluster B personalities in our lives. So having worked on my boundaries for a little while and starting to have changes around me, and it's sort of more of an energetic change. It's not necessarily something that I've been deliberately or consciously working on all the time, but I am noticing changes anyway. And one of those changes has to do with my lovely and adorable current husband. And the most remarkable thing happened a few weeks ago. We've been doing some renovations, doing some tiling, and putting in a couple of new appliances in the kitchen, etc. And while we were in an appliance store last month, I was explaining to the salesperson, who's also a repair person, about the particular problems we were having with our dryer. And my husband started to talk over me and actually mansplain. And my husband almost never does laundry. And not because he's some macho guy that doesn't believe it's his job, but because I've been off work for 4 years now, actually. Basically, I do all the laundry, and I like doing laundry, but the dryer has been a bit of an issue, and it's this particular brand, and it's been known to have some issues with certain models, and we happen to have a lemon of that certain model. So I was discussing the issues with him when my husband, who almost never uses the dryer, started to mansplain and took over, and the salesperson stopped listening to me, and who was also a guy, stopped listening to me and listened only to my husband. And a lot of what my husband was saying was actually wrong. It was incorrect, and it wasn't what was actually going on. It was his version or his interpretation of maybe what I had said in the past to him. And I didn't say anything at the time, and I think it was at least a week or two later where I said I'd had another appointment with my naturopath where we worked some more on my boundaries. And I said to my husband, I got to tell you, that episode at the appliance store was really interesting because you were mansplaining the whole dryer thing and you were wrong. And he was My husband was quite surprised. He was actually shocked that I said that and apologetic and wanted to know what he was wrong about. And I explained it to him, and he was very sorry. And that was that. And then last week, we were in a home renovation store, a really big one, and I was picking the paint colors for our wall, and we're going with a very subtle light gray on the main walls in the hallway and so on. And standing next to me was a gentleman who was really struggling with his paint colors, and he said something about having difficulty telling the difference between one beige and another. And I said to him, don't worry about it. Men have fewer color cones in their eyes than women do, which is why it might be harder for you to tell the difference between one beige and another. And we continued to have a bit of a conversation and laughing, and he didn't know that. And he was a contractor himself and said that his wife had sent him to pick a paint color. And I said, and that she didn't mind what he picked. And I said, oh, you're lucky, because if my husband picked a paint color that I hated, he'd sure hear about it from me. And my husband came along from the section where he was and found us there and proceeded to start mansplaining how to pick a paint color and interrupted me. And the contractor guy that was standing there, started to listen to him. Only this time I said, oh, so you're going to start mansplaining paint colors now, are you? So this lovely gentleman, started laughing. And then my husband started laughing, and I was laughing. And I said, I've just explained to him how men have fewer color cones than women do in their eyes. So it's really interesting that you should come along and start mansplaining how to pick a color. So we turned it into a joke. And afterwards, my husband said, I'm really sorry. It's true. I did start mansplaining how to pick a color. So I was pretty grateful for that. Now, a couple of days ago, we live in a townhouse complex that happens to have a pool and a hot tub and a sauna. And my husband and I were sitting in the sauna after a long day of renovations. And there were two gentlemen there, and they were both carpenters, actually. And we were talking about renovations, and they were talking about how frustrating it was that in this townhouse complex, some of the things were so old. Like currently our sauna isn't working. We're waiting for a part. And last year it was the hot tub that wasn't working. And we were talking about the aquatic center that happens to be walking distance from where this townhouse complex is. And I was talking about the aquatic center and what it had to offer, and how, I've been there a lot. And my husband, once again, you guessed it, started to mansplain. And at one point I said no, and he got this look on his face. And he immediately said, oh, I'm sorry, and let me speak. And afterwards, when we talked about it, he said, I realized I was mansplaining. I caught myself, and I've just realized how often I actually do it. So, yay, hubby. Took twice before he started to realize. And so we talked about it a little bit more. And I kind of wondered, and I said this to him, I wondered if, because my boundaries were so poor, and I speculate as to whether his mansplaining, with his whatever unconscious mansplaining as it was, of all these things, was actually an attempt on his part to step in and rescue me a little bit. And I say this because he's very protective of me, but in a very positive way. He wants me to succeed. He's never stopped me from doing anything. Rescuing, I do a lot of rescuing myself, so I understand where it comes from. There's an element of codependence there. But I really feel like his intention was never to overpower or control me in these situations. I'm kind of wondering if that lack of boundaries on my part was something he felt he needed to protect or compensate for or rescue. And I don't know, I'm not a psychologist, but it just seems to me that the intention is very different from someone who's um, controlling you like a narc would, like a narcissist or a cluster B would. It's not repression of you. It felt more like an attempt to protect or rescue, and that once he realized I actually no longer need it, he's been perfectly willing to stop. So that's the question I'm kind of putting out there. And I'm kind of wondering is that when you have a relatively healthy partner or friend or family member, if they might not be engaging in certain behaviors that can be perceived as negative, and that once you work through them, especially from your end with the right kind of boundaries and some healing work going on, if that behavior can't be addressed in a loving way and changed and seen for the intention as compensating, or that's the way our relationship has been for the last 15 years. And now I'm making a very profound change, and thankfully, I'm so grateful for this. My husband is lovingly willing to come along with that change and change his own behavior as a reflection of the changes that are happening for me. And so I think it's important for us, especially if we're suffering from complex PTSD or other anxiety issues, to be sure that someone isn't just being negative or behaving in a way that's detrimental to us, that there might be something deeper going on between the two of you and the way the relationship used to be based on who we used to be. And that as healing occurs, if that person is truly into the healing and into supporting us and being there for us, that they aren't willing to make the changes that reflect the healing that's going on within us. So lots of external renovations, lots of internal renovations that have been very, very revealing. It's a steep learning curve on both ends of this. We've been learning a lot as we do these renovations, and we want to keep going. And I encourage people out there to take a good, strong look at some of the behaviors that people may appear to be imposing on you, that may actually be based on the way the old relationship was, and that if you give some people a chance, not everybody, I think we all know who the true narcs are, that if we give some people a chance and explain it in a loving way what's going on, there is the possibility for growth and healing, not just for ourselves, but for the people who are really with us and really love us. So I hope that's helpful. Wishing everybody a great day. And next time I speak to you, I'm hoping it won't be using the toilet as the prop for my laptop. And have a great day, everyone. Thanks for watching. Bye.